Authorities in Palestine confirmed that the attacks launched on October 7th by the Israeli occupation army in Gaza have left so far a total of 26,792 Palestinians dead. The Minister of Culture of Peru, Leslie Urteaga, warned that she could order the closure of Machu Picchu in the face of protests against privatization. And in France, the siege of Paris is underway as farmers block key highways around the capital city for the second day in a row. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Tuesday, authorities in Palestine confirmed that the attacks launched on October 7th by the Israeli occupation army in Gaza have left a total of 26,792 Palestinians dead. In this way, the Health Ministry's daily report also notified that the wound of injuries is close to 66,000, while on the other hand, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the World Health Organization, and the Palestinian government asserted that due to the Israeli attacks, 360,000 residential units have been destroyed or damaged, along 378 educational facilities. And also, they noted that 14 of the 35 hospitals are partially functioning. It should be noted that according to official data, 15 people died every hour in Gaza, and 6 of them are children. The Israeli siege continues to advance in Gaza despite attempts by Qatar and Egypt to maintain negotiations and reach the long-awaited ceasefire needed by the Palestinians. Our correspondent in Gaza, Nur Harasin, brings us the latest details.
With the very high international pressure on Israel to stop its operation on Gaza, Qatar and Egypt are still trying to negotiate between Hamas and Israel, even though the negotiations were actually reaching a point where Palestinians here on the ground that maybe they are looking forward to a truce or a ceasefire in the very near future. However, Hamas, Osama Hamdan, leader in Hamas, said in a statement last night that Israel is manipulating the facts. They are manipulating the negotiations and manipulating the conditions. Hamas made it clear that they will release the hostages as soon as Israel stops its operation on Gaza. And this is what the Palestinian people actually here on the ground want. They are starving for a humanitarian truce, a long-term ceasefire, anything that could actually bring peace to the ground here in Gaza. At the same time, the UN has repeatedly asked upon the funding countries to continue their funding, because this comes in a very sensitive time for the Palestinian people here, as they are in dire need of every little aid possible. Nuharazin, TeleSUR, Gaza.
Palestinian authorities denounced a temporary suspension of aid to the United Nations agency that helps refugees in that Middle East country. The Commissioner General of that agency, Philippe Lazzarini, described as serious and highly irresponsible the action of some countries that suspends funding to punish the entire community serving that UN agency for accusations against a small group of people. He also underlined that the United Nations institution never received any reservations regarding specific workers. Lazzarini remembered that over 2 million people in Gaza depend on this agency, especially in times of war, displacement, and political crisis in the region. The official asked the nations to reconsider its positions. The Houthi movement in Yemen confirmed that they attacked on Sunday a U.S. military vessel in the Gulf of Aden in defense of the Palestinian people. Members of the movement reiterated that the new attack was part of the military measures taken by the Yemeni armed forces in defense of the country and in support of the Palestinian people. They also indicated that the attacked vessel was providing logistical support to the U.S. forces involved in the aggression against Yemen. They further assured that the Yemeni naval force will continue to prevent Israeli shipping to the occupied Palestinian ports until Israel stops the aggression and lifts the siege against the Gaza Strip. The craftsmanship of Syrian traditional blown glass is a tradition that at the end of 2023 was inscribed by UNESCO in the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, an achievement that the Syrian cultural authorities celebrated with the organization in Damascus of an exhibition of glass product of this artistic craft. Let's see.
The exhibition, organized by the Syrian Ministry of Culture in cooperation with the Syrian Secretariat for Development, took place in the historic Knesset Vasha caravanserai in the old city of Damascus. The event included the premiere of a documentary on this craft, which occupies a prominent position among the other components that make up the millenary civilized culture of Syria.
After this achievement, we have started a new phase of work that focuses on good management of this craft and good investment in it for the sake of Syrian artisans and for the benefit of society and the national economy through this artistic and creative handicraft production.
Glass blowing is an ancient craft, traits inherited from generation to generation, and it is a source of pride and joy to inscribe it on the list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. This is an achievement that would help to increase the production of this manual work, that its various productions reach the whole world, and that the world see our artistic creativity in the production of blown glass pieces.
At the event, the brothers Ahmed and Mahmoud Al-Halak were honored for their role in the preservation of this endangered craft. Two veterans of Syrian craft skills, whose family is among the few Syrian families active in this field, and whose dedication, perseverance, and determination to train a new generation of young craftsmen have saved this age-old craft, which dates back to the 9th century BC, from the time of the Phoenicians.
Despite the difficult circumstances resulting from the war and the blockade, we have not stopped working and teaching our children and grandchildren this trade to preserve it, and we hope that now, with the support of the UNESCO, we will be able to expand our work and increase production. This recognition is not for me but for all of Syria, for their determination during the long years of war, which was reflected in the commitment of the craftsmen who did not abandon their country despite all the difficulties, especially the artisans of blown glass. On their behalf, I thank everyone who helped us to preserve this craft.
The glass blowing technique is positioned in the list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, along with other elements of Syrian culture, as the damask rose, the shadow theater, the creation and interpretation of the Arabic oud, and the musical genre specific to the Syrian city of Aleppo, Al-Qud al-Alabia, symbols of Syria's rich and diverse civilized culture, which survived the foreign-imposed war and blockade and stand as living testimony to the failure of the plans of the terrorists and their Western financiers to erase the cultural identity of the Syrian people.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. In Peru, the Minister of Culture, Leslie Ortega, warned in the face of protests against privatization that she could order the closure of Machu Picchu. After 4 days of protests against the handover of the iconic Inca site to a private company, the executive refuses to dialogue and anticipates more extreme measures. The minister demands that the strike and the seizure of the train tracks cease in order to sit down to dialogue. However, the social collective and citizens who maintain the protests assure that time they have yielded to the proposals of the executive, they end up being deceived. The head of culture assured in an interview to national television that they will evaluate the request for the closure of the citadel. The Minister of Culture added that the government will only engage in dialogue if the strike is lifted, which is causing millions of dollars in losses. In Bolivia, Vice President David Choquehuanca confirms an important agreement reached in the plurinational parliament to guarantee judicial elections. The plurinational assembly has created a bicameral and multi-partisan commission that will work for time and matter a consensual law. The agreement mediated by the vice presidency of the country was reached this Monday and sets a next meeting for February 4th. The different political forces of the Bolivian parliament celebrated this achievement and believe that it is an important step to guarantee the independence of the justice system. The vice president closed the conclave offering some details. The President of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, signed this Monday the decree ordering the repatriation of foreign prisoners. The President ordered the state agency in charge of the penitentiary system to immediately process the return of prisoners to their respective countries. This decision arises in the midst of a strong crisis of insecurity and violence that since the government of former President Lenin Moreno has had a drastic worsening in prisons. According to the most recent census, 10% of convicts in Ecuadorian prisons are foreigners. The President claims that this measure will alleviate the crisis that in less than a month has already left 20 police officers dead and more than 200 prison guards held in detention. The President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, revealed that the Barbados Agreement disqualification review mechanism was drafted by some representative of the political opposition. The President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, commented that the proposal for the resolution of the internal conflict of the opposition was signed by the government but was drafted by representatives of sectors opposed to the Venezuelan government. The head of state emphasized that the current disqualifications of opposition politicians respond to serious crimes committed against the country, as well as their request for sanctions and military intervention. President Maduro also stated that despite the conspiratorial acts against him, he continues to support peace dialogues. Maduro emphasized that neither the oligarchy nor the surnames are the ones that will determine the democratic future of the country. The President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, informed on Monday at the first Council of Ministers of 2024 about the national tours and the processes that will accompany the implementation of the new economic measures. The head of state gave an account of the activities that will be developed for the implementation of the government's projections to correct distortions and boost the economy. With this objective in mind, he addressed the work priorities for this year, making special emphasis on the need for the measures designed to have spaces to encourage popular participation, for which reason a process of political debate will be carried out throughout the country. Police interventions in the protests that are shaking Haiti left one person dead in the city of Juana Mendez on the border with the Dominican Republic and several injured. This Monday, two protests coincided in the country, a strike called by several sectors against violence and blockades to demand the departure of the Prime Minister, Henry, and a second one that ended in strong confrontations between police and demonstrators. In three localities of the country, one of them Fort Liberté, there were barricades and riots which the police tried to disperse with tear gas and gunshots. The government claims that they are trying to paralyze the country while local organizations seek to hold the current administration responsible for the serious humanitarian crisis facing Paradise. And we go now to Argentina, where the national government suffered a new judicial setback regarding its emergency decree as its appeal against the provisional suspension of the labor chapter in favor of the aviation personnel was rejected. Judges Mario Fera and Hector Guisado dismissed the appeal of the ruling party, ratifying the jurisdiction of the labor courts in the dispute which the government had tried to refute. In this sense, the judges alluded to similar cases presented by Argentina's main workers' unions, CGT and CTA, already taken by the same courts. Milei's administration insists on its right and need to rule by decree, claiming to have the necessary popular support after his electoral victory in November, despite criticism received by constitutionalists and the multiple judicial setbacks it has faced in the past weeks. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin American, Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. One short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. The siege of Paris is underway as French farmers block key highways around the capital city for the second day in a row Tuesday. The farmers threatened to block the major wholesale market of Runges, depending the announcement of new measures promised by the government on January 30th. The Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, is expected to deliver further announcements in an attempt to calm the anger of farmers in Europe's third largest agricultural power and the sixth largest in the world. Demonstrators began on Monday afternoon a siege of the capital for an unlimited duration after 11 days of protests. The sector is calling for measures to address falling incomes, low pensions, inflation caused by environmental standards, and foreign competition. Belgian farmers also blocked traffic on several of the country's highways on Monday to demand greater protection from the agricultural industries. One of the main roadblocks was carried out in the city of Namur, a junction point that connects the main highways of the country and links Brussels with Luxembourg, Germany, and France. According to local media, the farmers intend to keep this junction closed for at least more than 24 hours. They also plan to hold another roadblock near Brussels in the vicinity of the town of Halle, starting at 8 p.m. local time. Demonstrators assure that the protest will continue throughout the week until the government listens to their demands.
For now, today is the day to protest. We will take the necessary measures. We hope to be demonstrating until Thursday, and I think that on Thursday the question is whether we go to Brussels. Well, if I've received the right information, I think that's what it's all about.
The heads of state of Russia and Belarus met on Monday to discuss ways to further expand their close alliance that has seen the deployment of some of Russia's nuclear weapons on the territory of its neighbor. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart Alexander Lukashenko head the State Council of the Union between their countries. President Vladimir Putin praised bilateral cooperation despite unprecedented external pressure. For his part, President Alexander Lukashenko assured that the main task is to intensify cooperation in the field of import substitution. Since the beginning of Moscow's special military operation in Ukraine, Russia and Belarus, one of the theaters of the operation, have been subjected to repeated sets of Western sanctions.
It is important that Russia and Belarus, under conditions of unprecedented external pressure, closely interact on the world stage, inevitably and invariably providing each other with genuine mutual support. As true allies, our country's outlook to current global and regional problems coincide or are largely similar.
It is important to strengthen the international positioning of our union, as we're trying to do so with the Eurasian Economic Union. The main task in the industrial sphere is to intensify cooperation in the field of import substitution. A lot has been done here. We figured out a lot that we didn't understand just 2 years ago. No one can bring us to our knees. On the contrary, we mobilized our forces and achieved a lot.
On Monday in South Africa, former President Jacob Zuma has been suspended by the ruling ANC party, in which they vowed a legal challenge against a rival group campaigning in his name. ANC Party Secretary General Fikile Mbalula announced the decision, stating that the behavior of Zuma and others is contrary to its values and principles. This decision was widely expected and will be seen as a sign of disunity in the movement ahead of this year's general elections, where the ANC has long been the dominant party and could lose ground. Balula, in addition to suspending Zuma, said the ANC could file a complaint with the Electoral Court to get the new party's registration annulled and file a trademark appeal to recover the name.
The NEC concluded that exceptional circumstances exist to justify and warrant an immediate decision to suspend former ANC President Jacob Zuma in line with Rule 25.60. The NEC took note of the announcement by former ANC President Jacob Zuma on 16 December 2023. He announced that he will be campaigning for another political party and further launched a series of vitriolic attacks against the ANC and its leadership. Zuma and others whose conduct is in conflict with our values and principles will find themselves outside the African National Congress.
A 5.7 earthquake has shaken the town of Icol in Postcam County, northwest China. According to the United States Geological Service, the telluric movement was registered on Tuesday at around 5:27 local time, with an intensity of approximately 6 degrees. So far, the local authorities have not reported any injuries or significant material damage. According to the Geological Service, the epicenter appears to be located in Icol and could be felt in the limits of Kyrgyzstan. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.